Chapter 21 Forbidden Land, Evil Forest. Little Skeleton appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As night fell, bursts of light blue light appeared in the sea of bones. From a distance, it looked extremely strange. Phosphorescent fire. Looking around, Chen showed a surprised expression on his face. Now Chen was a little hesitant. Should he continue to move forward? For some reason, he always felt that this sea of bones was a bit gloomy and terrifying. As if there was something terrible hidden in it. Back off. Return the original way. To be honest, Chen was not very happy about it. After thinking about it, Chen decided to wait and see. Everything will be discussed when the sun comes up. Staying at the edge of the sea of bones, Chen dozed off bored. Late at night, when Chen was drowsy, suddenly, there were sounds of fighting, screams, and strange cries all around, extremely creepy. What was even more incredible was that the debris in the sea of debris actually moved one after another. The debris and skeletons picked up the rusty weapons and killed each other, or, they just used bone spurs and bone knives to fight in the most primitive way. Some debris and skeletons actually tried to kill Chen. Hearing these voices and seeing the weird scene in front of him, Chen was petrified on the spot. What is this? It's really weird, that he cursed, and Chen felt like a thorn in his back. The only thing that made him feel fortunate was those debris, skeletons, etc. seemed to be restricted by some rules. The debris and skeletons that rushed towards him were actually blocked by an inexplicable force. It seems that they can only move in specific places. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. Don't cut me. Do you hear me? Suddenly, a child's voice sounded in the battlefield of these skeletons. Hearing this voice, Chen felt like he was on edge, and even had the urge to turn around and run. It was so damn scary. However, he still restrained this urge. Because of curiosity. Looking at the source of the voice, Chen was stunned. His face was also extremely strange. His eyes were also strange. I saw a small skeleton the size of a child, hiding here and there. It was cursing while running. What's more interesting is that the little skeleton is actually very different from the debris and skeletons around it. Which of the other debris and skeletons is not yellow or dilapidated? Which one is not clumsy? But this little skeleton, not only is the whole body of the skeleton crystal clear, the movements are so flexible and agile. But the little skeleton seems to be very weak. A scumbag? Can it still feel pain? In addition, there were two purple flames dancing in its eye sockets. When Chen looked at the little skeleton also looked at Chen. Boy, help me. How about I give you a great fortune? The flames in the eye sockets jumped a few times, and the little skeleton shouted excitedly. How to help you? What great fortune are you going to give me? After looking at the little skeleton, Chen showed an interested smile on his face. This ghost place has been arranged with strange rules. The wreckage and skeletons cannot leave this area. Take me away, and I will give you a great fortune. Without thinking, the little skeleton blurted out. Hearing the words of the little skeleton, Chen's face showed a look of sudden enlightenment. So that's it. No wonder these wreckage and skeletons want to attack themselves, but they will be blocked by inexplicable forces. But, which great man has such a hand? Can it actually deploy the power of rules to restrict the freedom of the boundless ocean of debris? Strong. It's really too strong. While the little skeleton was talking, it was beaten up by a group of debris and skeletons again. This also made the little skeleton angry and started to curse again. The curse was not ordinary. After thinking for a while, Chen decided to take action. On the one hand, it was because the little skeleton had no attack power. What was there to worry about for a scumbag? On the other hand, it was because he didn't know how to leave this ghost place. God knows how long it will take. With this guy accompanying me, it won't be too boring. As for the great fortune, Chen didn't take it to heart at all. What great fortune can a little skeleton that can't protect itself give him? If you want to do it, do it. The next moment, Chen directly took action. In the blink of an eye, Chen flew to the side of the little skeleton, easily repelling the debris and skeletons around him. Yi Chen grabbed the little skeleton with one hand and flew back to where he was. After a while, a man and a skeleton returned to where Yi Chen was. "Thank you, kid. Not bad. I finally left this hellhole where no one would dare to go ashore." That he looked at Yi Chen, and then at the ocean of debris not far away, and the little skeleton muttered, "Damn! What are you doing?" That looking at Yi Chen, the little skeleton's face turned green, if he had eyes. Because Yi Chen grabbed him with one hand and threw him into the ocean of debris, the little skeleton was a little confused. What's going on? While dodging attacks from other skeletons and debris, the little skeleton started yelling with foul language. He asked Yi Chen for help. "I just want to tell you that I hate people calling me with a nickname. Also, I hate people swearing at me." Looking at the little skeleton calmly, Yi Chen said lightly, "Damn! You should have said it earlier. Boy. No. Sir, I know I'm wrong. Save me." After watching the little skeleton being tortured for a long time, Yi Chen finally pulled it out. "This kid." The little skeleton looked at Yi Chen with extremely resentful eyes, if it had eyes. "Sir, why are you so upset that you came to the evil spirit forest?" After a long time, the little skeleton couldn't help but break the silence and asked. Hearing the little skeleton's words, Yi Chen's face changed slightly. "Evil spirit forest. One of the 10 forbidden places in the world of immortal cultivation. Located at the junction of the East region and the North frontier. Damn! How did I get teleported here?" Suddenly, Yi Chen began to understand why everything he saw and heard along the way was so weird. How could the evil spirit forest, one of the 10 forbidden areas, not be weird? "I was teleported here randomly." Shrugging, Yi Chen said casually. "You are so unlucky." After a lot of effort, the little skeleton managed to say this random teleport. Could it be that this kid came from a big force to train? Huh. Why can't I see through his cultivation? How strange. What an interesting kid. Pa. Should I say young man? The little skeleton couldn't help but think about it. After chatting for a while, the man and the skeleton finally got familiar with each other. Under the leadership of the little skeleton, the man and the skeleton left around the edge of the wreckage ocean. Chapter 22. The little skeleton presents a mysterious giant sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Chen, don't look at me as weak now. When I was at my peak, I was an extremely powerful person. Yi Chen, where are you from? Dao Sect? That's an interesting sect. A long, long time ago, when it was at its peak, it stood at the top of the world of immortal cultivation. Yi Chen, how long have you been practicing? What's your level? Have you realized any interesting artistic conception? Do you want me to teach you? Yi Chen. It has to be said that the little skeleton is a chatterbox who seems to know everything and is old-fashioned. For a moment, Yi Chen began to regret taking this guy away. Along the way, the little skeleton's mouth never stopped. Can you shut up? Yi Chen said unhappily with a pout. No. I have been holding it back for more than 100,000 years. I will die if I don't speak. Shaking his head, the little skeleton said seriously, besides being speechless, what else can Yi Chen say? I say, how can you, a skeleton, live so long? And can you even talk? Looking at the little skeleton, Yi Chen asked curiously. It's hard to say. Ahem. After hesitating for a while, the little skeleton said with a lack of confidence, it seems that there is something unspeakable. TSK. Have you been beaten in the sea of bones for more than 100,000 years? Slightly startled, Yi Chen looked at the little skeleton with strange eyes. Alas. I don't want to either. Who made me have no energy or power? Sighing, the little skeleton replied a little depressed, it seems that it is also brooding about this matter. Here. This is the great fortune I promised to give you. Suddenly, the little skeleton said, at some point, it actually took out a giant sword and handed it to Yi Chen, a giant sword that is much taller than it. Space fluctuation. Looking at the little skeleton, Yi Chen showed a surprised expression on his face. He was thinking, this little skeleton doesn't have a storage space or something? Otherwise, it's really unreasonable. Does it have a space ring or something? Hee hee. You have good taste. Hearing Yi Chen's words, the little skeleton laughed triumphantly. However, it didn't mean to explain too much. Taking the giant sword handed over by the little skeleton, Yi Chen looked at it carefully. This is a black bladeless giant sword that is nearly half a foot long and about 1 foot wide. What surprised Yi Chen even more was that this giant sword didn't have any grade. It seems that it is made of some special material. As a genius weapon refiner, Yi Chen certainly understood what this meant. Either, this is a useless sword, or, its origin is very outrageous. Little skeleton, what is the origin of this sword? Stopped and looked at the little skeleton, Yi Chen asked. I don't know. But I can be sure that this is definitely not an ordinary thing. The one who guarded this sword at the beginning was. As he spoke, the little skeleton shut up again. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Yi Chen found that the little skeleton's bones seemed to tremble just now. Nodding gently, Yi Chen did not intend to continue to break the casserole to get to the bottom of it. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen squeezed the tip of his right finger and dripped a drop of blood on the giant sword. The next moment, a blood-colored light burst out directly from the black bladeless giant sword, soaring into the sky, and then disappeared. In the dark, the giant sword and Yi Chen have already had a trace of connection. Under the control of Yi Chen's consciousness, the giant sword became smaller and flew into his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows. Suddenly, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes. This black bladeless giant sword was actually absorbing some of his own true qi and blood to nourish itself. However, the speed at which it absorbed true qi and blood was very slow, and it had no effect on Yi Chen at all. What Yi Chen didn't know was that the blood-red light bursting out from the black bladeless giant sword had attracted the attention of countless people. East region. North frontier. Countless old monsters were awakened and looked in the direction of the evil spirit forest in doubt. After several days, Yi Chen and the little skeleton finally crossed the sea of bones and continued to move forward in a large mountain range. Standing on a peak, Yi Chen finally showed a relieved smile on his face. Vaguely, there was the outline of a city hundreds of miles away. Now, Yi Chen was not in a hurry to get on the road. Little skeleton, are you going to follow me all the time? Lying on a rock with his legs crossed, Yi Chen looked at the little skeleton and asked. Hey! 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 Yi Chen, can't you burn the bridge after crossing the river? I have given you one of my most important treasures. Do you have the heart to let me be caught outside without any power? Hearing Yi Chen's words, the little skeleton shouted excitedly. Hearing the little skeleton's words, Yi Chen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. One of the most important treasures. It's not impossible to take you with you. Don't you have a few important treasures? Grinning, Yi Chen said meanly. No way. Without any hesitation, the little skeleton said, gritting his teeth. Okay. Take you with me. Waving his hand, Yi Chen didn't intend to continue teasing the little skeleton. Yi Chen had no doubt about what the little skeleton said, one of the most important treasures. I'm afraid this is true. These days, after Yi Chen's research, he also discovered the extraordinariness of the black bladeless giant sword. Although it has no blade, it seems to be indestructible. Even the 5th level formation was easily broken with one sword. It has the flavor of a heavy sword without a blade. What's more interesting is that as Yi Chen's true energy and blood continue to nourish it, this black bladeless giant sword seems to be slowly reviving. Can it adjust gravity? It seems that it has its own gravity field. This is also the fundamental reason why it can easily break the 5th level formation, 100 times the gravity field, an easy sword. In addition, it also contains an amazing killing aura. If Yi Chen hadn't been determined, he would have gone crazy and turned into a killing machine. That's about right, muttered, and the little skeleton also imitated Yi Chen and lay beside it. Yi Chen, why don't you practice every day? Because I like it. After chatting with the little skeleton for a while, Yi Chen continued to study the black bladeless giant sword in his sea of consciousness. Gravity field. Killing aura. No grade. I wonder what other secrets it hides. Touching his chin, Yi Chen couldn't help but have a sudden idea. If the gravity field of this giant sword continues to increase, what will happen if it is carried on the back? Use it to hone yourself, the effect must be good, right? Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. Chapter 23, Evil Spirit City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the saying goes, action is worse than heartbeat. Subconsciously, Yi Chen summoned the black bladeless giant sword. He wanted to test whether his idea was feasible. Bang! With a loud noise, Yi Chen and the giant sword hit the ground beside him. A big hole was made. Yi Chen had never thought of it, even in his wildest dreams. The gravity field of the black bladeless sword suddenly changed. Originally, its gravity field only acted on itself. 100 times gravity field is nothing more than a heavy sword weighing hundreds of kilograms, turned into tens of thousands of kilograms, this weight. For Yi Chen, who is at the peak of the late stage of the 9 heavens of the golden core stage, it has no impact at all and can be completely ignored. But now, the trick is that this gravity field does not only act on the giant sword itself, it also affects Yi Chen. Hundreds of times the gravity field acted on Yi Chen. Fortunately, his life level had improved and his body was extremely powerful, otherwise, this guy might turn into a meat pie. Etc. Why didn't the gravity field act on me when I tested the 5th level formation before? Now why is this happening? Could it be because he inadvertently controlled the giant sword? Thinking of this possibility, Yi Chen's consciousness attached itself to the giant sword. Sure enough. As soon as he thought, the gravity field acting on him disappeared. Yi Chen, what are you doing? On the side, the little skeleton was shocked by Yi Chen's actions. Seeing that Yi Chen was fine, it couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. Nothing. Shaking his head, Yi Chen stood up with his sword in hand. TSK TSK TSK. Sure enough. This sword is not simple. It actually has a gravity field to hone itself. After circling around Yi Chen, the little skeleton said something in amazement. Nodding with deep understanding, Yi Chen did not speak, but continued to study the giant sword in his hand. After a while, Yi Chen pinned the giant sword on his back, no more, no less, exactly 10 times the gravity field acting on itself. This is already the limit that Yi Chen can move freely. Increase the gravity field multiplier and he will become hobbled. Yi Chen. Isn't it a little too eye-catching for you to carry this giant sword? There's no sheath, no rope or anything, just attached directly to the back. Looking up at Yi Chen, the little skeleton said quietly. Is it eye-catching? I don't think so. Apart from the fact that this bladeless giant sword looks a bit quaint, there is nothing attractive about it at all. Just like a big iron sword. Even a practitioner in the Qi refining stage can easily hang a sword on his back, right? Shrugging, Yi Chen said disapprovingly, gravity field. If you don't tell yourself, who knows? He didn't think that everyone was as vicious as the little skull. It is an immortal existence that has lived for more than 100,000 years. As for the killing aura of the giant sword, it had long been hidden by him using formations. Besides, speaking of eye-catching, wearing a little skull is even more eye-catching, right? Speaking of little skeletons, I have to mention them. Yi Chen tried to put this thing into the space ring and the small world inside his body, but they all ended in failure. In the words of the little skeleton, it is useless. It is somewhere between a living thing and a dead thing, no space carrier can fit it in. Hearing Yi Chen's words, the little skeleton couldn't help but be speechless. It also felt that what Yi Chen said seemed to make sense. I have to say that Yi Chen's talent is really not that of an ordinary monster. This is true in every way. In less than an hour, his body had completely adapted to the 10 times gravity field acting on him. He simply increased it to 11 times. Except for the fact that the speed of the inner energy in his body slowed down a bit, Yi Chen was not affected in any way. As the sun set, one person and one skeleton finally walked out of the evil forest after a long journey. Less than 10 miles away from them, there was an ancient city dozens of miles in diameter. Finally it's out. It's not easy. Looking at the majestic ancient city within his sight, Yi Chen couldn't help sighing. Yes. I finally left that miserable place in the evil spirit forest. Nodding, the little skeleton said carelessly. Speaking of the evil spirit forest, Chen once curiously asked the little skeleton some questions. For example, why is there no living thing except plants in the evil forest? Why is there almost no aura? Also, it's a pity that this guy has an attitude of avoiding talking about it. In the end, Chen didn't bother to ask. After looking at each other, one person and one skeleton walked slowly towards the city in tacit agreement, going all out. Chen has no such interest. Especially, the little skeleton is still a scumbag. Its speed is no different from ordinary people. You can't carry it around all day, right? When it got dark, the two finally arrived at the city gate, Evil City. This is the name of the city, maybe it's named after the evil spirit forest. Without making any further stops, one person and one skeleton walked directly into the evil spirit city. The appearance of the strange combination of Chen and Little Skull immediately attracted the attention of countless people. A frail boy who looks gentle and harmless. The key is that the boy is carrying a huge sword. The contrast is too big. And a strange little crystal clear skeleton that can talk. Huh. This kid is interesting. He doesn't have any cultivation. But he carries a huge iron sword on his back. Maybe he has practiced some secret method to hide his strength? Or is he a scholar? Who knows? This little skeleton beside him is interesting. Can he talk? Yeah. Could it be that this kid is a puppeteer? Or a formation master? This little skeleton is just a puppet or a side formation. I don't know. But, they are so weak, how dare they come to the evil spirit city? They are really looking for death. Hee hee. Makes sense. I guess there will be a good show to watch. It won't be long before this kid will be targeted. Look at his clothes, he doesn't look like a poor man. Yeah. For the pointing and talking of those around him, there were all kinds of discussions. Chen chose to ignore it. When the enemy comes, the general will fight. When the water comes, the earth will cover it. Why bother so much? The little skeleton rarely didn't speak, and looked around curiously. One person and one skeleton wandered aimlessly in the city, looking at the ancient buildings along the way that looked like they were set in a movie. Chen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. TSK TSK TSK. The outside world is still more down to earth. Unlike Dao's sect, there are pavilions and various beautiful buildings everywhere, like a fairyland. Chapter 24 Conflict at Piaomiao Inn. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If other practitioners knew what Chen was thinking, he would probably be drowned in saliva. How many practitioners want to enter the holy land of cultivation but cannot? Even the threshold of an ordinary outer disciple has blocked 99% of practitioners, but this guy. In the end, a man and a skeleton came to an inn called Piaomiao. After asking for a yard and ordering some wine and food, Chen sat down near the window on the first floor of the inn. The little skeleton sat opposite Chen in a carefree manner. In the inn, people around looked at Chen and the little skeleton curiously. The main reason was that the combination of a man and a skeleton was too weird. In addition, Chen's move just now was not ordinary. He wanted the best yard right away. And the best wine and food. He took out thousands of low-grade spirit stones all at once. So, it would be difficult for Chen not to attract attention. However, if they knew that this was almost all the spiritual stones in Chen's space ring, I wonder what they would think. Chen, are you too high profile? Be careful that we are being targeted. Looking at Chen, the little skeleton whispered. It's okay. Besides, what's wrong with living better, eating better and drinking better? Waving his hand, Chen said indifferently, and as he spoke, he showed a righteous expression on his face. Just the array plates in his space ring can be exchanged for a lot of spiritual stones, right? Not to mention the spiritual plants in his small world. As a rich man, Chen doesn't think he has to be wronged in order to keep a low profile, being targeted. So what? If you can beat them, fight. If you can't beat them, run. This is what Chen really thinks in his heart. Hearing Chen's words and seeing his expression, the little skeleton was suffocated, crazy. In its heart, Chen has been labeled like this. Not long after, some delicious food and wine came up and filled the table. Just when Yi Chen and the little skeleton were about to start eating, a purple shadow flew out. Meow, standing on Yi Chen's shoulder and rubbing Yi Chen's face intimately, Xiao Qi landed on the table the next moment, running to the wine jar. It actually tilted the wine jar down with one claw and drank it with relish. TSK 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 TSK. This uncle is an eye-opener. Pet cats actually drink wine. Looking at Xiao Qi, the little skeleton said in amazement. However, when this guy said this, he also grabbed a wine jar and drank it. The other bone hand kept taking food and putting it into his mouth. Hearing the words of the little skeleton and seeing its actions, Yi Chen's forehead was full of black lines. He was really a little curious. How much did this guy drink and eat? You know, this guy is a skeleton. As for Xiao Qi, the little foodie, isn't it normal for him to drink and eat? But then again, Yi Chen was not calm at this time. Even Xiao Kolu, who has lived for more than 100,000 years, couldn't see Xiao Qi's origin. TSK TSK TSK. Interesting. The master made a mistake, and this guy also made a mistake. Of course. It is also possible that Xiao Kolu said that on purpose. After all, saying that Xiao Qi is extraordinary is very easy to cause some unnecessary trouble. Sure enough. The next moment, a voice transmission sounded in Yi Chen's ears to confirm his guess. Yi Chen, where did you get this spirit pet? This uncle almost made a mistake. What a high-level ability to shuttle through space. It seems that its origin is not simple at all, that there is no doubt that this is the voice of Xiao Kolu. Guess it yourself. In response to Xiao Kolu's question, Yi Chen replied with a voice transmission. Then, he also lowered his head and swept away the clouds. The diners around them all widened their eyes when they saw Yi Chen and his table, a pet cat that drinks and eats all kinds of food. That makes sense. However, this was the first time they had ever seen a little skeleton that drank and ate. At the same time, they were also very curious. Where did the little skeleton eat and drink? There were all kinds of holes all over its bones. Unconsciously, the diners all started to discuss in a low voice. What a beautiful pet cat. What breed is this? Even its fur is crystal clear. Who knows? Some rich young men just like these messy things. In my opinion, it's better to raise a powerful spiritual pet. That little skeleton is so strange. Can it talk, drink and eat? Just like a human. That young man who looks powerless seems to be in trouble. Don't you know that wealth should not be revealed? He actually took out so many spiritual stones at once. That's right. A few thousand low-grade spiritual stones are enough for ordinary Qi refining stage or even foundation establishment stage to spend for a year. I guess he is a prodigal son from some force. I've seen a lot of people like this. Neither Yi Chen nor the little skeleton heard these discussions. After eating and drinking, one person, one skeleton and one cat were about to leave. Suddenly, a voice sounded in the direction of the entrance of Piaomiao Inn. The voice asked with an unquestionable tone. What a beautiful kitten, buy it for me. I want it. A group of people walked into the inn. The leader was a girl wearing a red outfit, with a sweet look and a superior look. She was followed by more than 10 servants. At this time, her eyes were fixed on Xiao Qi on Yi Chen's shoulder. The inn suddenly became so quiet that you could smell a pin drop. Many people looked at Yi Chen with sympathy or gloating. After taking a look at this group of people, Yi Chen showed a look of surprise on his face. A girl in the late 8th level of the foundation building period. With a group of subordinates in the golden elixir period. It's interesting. Boy, make an offer. Our eldest lady will not treat you unfairly. But I hope you don't go too far. The city lord's mansion is not short of spirit stones, but... Next to the girl, a middle-aged man dressed as a butler walked towards Yi Chen and said, his face was full of pride. Hearing his words, the little skeleton laughed in a low voice with gloating. It felt that these people were not ordinary idiots. Calling Yi Chen a kid? Isn't this obviously offending him? He hated being called little the most. And this condescending attitude? Adding threats? This is simply offending Yi Chen to death. Although it didn't know Yi Chen's strength, it was not difficult to see from Yi Chen's expression, Yi Chen didn't take the people in front of him seriously at all. "Get lost," Yi Chen said lightly after looking at the middle-aged housekeeper calmly. In an instant, the whole inn became so quiet that you could smell a pin drop. The faces of the people present were also very interesting. Chapter 25, Xiao Qi helps to vent his anger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boy, are you provoking the city lord's mansion? Staring at Yi Chen's face, the middle-aged housekeeper said gloomily. "Tsk, tsk, tsk. Are you trying to buy or sell by force? Or are you used to relying on the city lord's palace to dominate? Do you think everyone has to listen to you?" Looking at the middle-aged housekeeper with disdain, Yi Chen said with a mocking look on his face. His eyes had turned cold. If the other party continues to talk nonsense, he doesn't mind killing anyone at all. "You." Hearing Yi Chen's words, the middle-aged housekeeper was so angry that his whole body trembled. Some of the diners around looked at Yi Chen dumbfounded. In their opinion, Yi Chen was simply trying to offend the city lord's mansion to death. Who doesn't know that the people in the city lord's mansion have always been very domineering? "Uncle Lin, get out of the way." At this time, the eldest lady of the city lord's mansion shouted. "Yes." Nodding, the middle-aged housekeeper stood aside. However, the look he looked at Yi Chen became more and more unkind. Obviously, he couldn't handle this well, which made him feel very embarrassed. He completely hated this guy Yi Chen. "This young master, my name is Huang Yinhuo. I wonder, could you sell me your pet cat? No matter how many spirit stones you have. Also, I want to say something. Although I am used to being aloof, I have never bothered to rely on my father's reputation to dominate. Because, I like to hit people with spiritual stones the most." Staring directly into Yi Chen's eyes, Huang Yinhuo spoke word for word. After speaking, her sweet and pretty face showed a confident expression. Maybe, she always believed in her money ability. Hearing Huang Yinhuo's words, Yi Chen smiled. "I bet you, the young lady from the city lord's mansion in front of you thinks that spirit stones are omnipotent. Interesting. Since you have so many spiritual stones, let's take 1 billion top-quality spiritual stones." After glancing at Huang Yinhuo, Yi Chen replied lightly. "Hiss." Hearing Yi Chen's words, everyone present took a breath. 1 billion top-quality spiritual stones. This guy really dares to say it. With so many top-quality spiritual stones, I'm afraid only those top holy places can get them, right? "You." Hearing Yi Chen's words, Huang Yinhuo was really angry. "What am I? Don't you like to hit people with spiritual stones? Now, hurry up and smash it." After giving Huang Yinhuo a faint look, Yi Chen said angrily. "Snort." In anger, Huang Yinhuo snorted coldly, turned around and left. The middle-aged housekeeper glanced at Yi Chen coldly and left. In the blink of an eye, this large group of people disappeared. "Let's go." Looking sideways at the little skeleton, Yi Chen walked directly to a luxuriously decorated courtyard of the inn. "Okay. Yi Chen, I like you more and more, you have a personality. Roll." What Yi Chen didn't know was that not long after they left, the diners in the inn started talking again. "This boy is in trouble. He has offended the eldest lady and still dares to stay in the evil spirit city. Tsk, tsk, tsk. Yes. Although the eldest lady has always been aloof, she has never bullied anyone. At most, she just likes to smash spiritual stones to buy something she likes. But that housekeeper is quite hateful. She does one thing in front of others and another behind her. That's right. I guess this time, he will add fuel to the fire and tell the eldest lady that those suitors will kill people with knives, right? Sure. Isn't that the kind of person that bastard is? The most hateful thing is that he always gets rid of the relationship in the end. Otherwise, with the eldest lady's violent temper, I'm afraid he would have been destroyed long ago, right? Don't you know this? I heard that the eldest lady has been secretly collecting some evidence during this period. I guess she has already suspected the housekeeper. She also wants to get rid of this black sheep in the city lord's palace, right? That's right. During the few years that the city lord and his wife were in seclusion, this bastard did many bad things secretly. The reputation of the city lord's mansion was almost ruined by him. Shoo! Do you want to die? There will be no good end for offending this person named Lin. After walking into the yard, Chen casually threw out a level 4 formation disc. The level 4 psychedelic array instantly enveloped the entire courtyard. Chen, it seems that your status in Daozong is not low. Do you have such arrays? Entering this psychedelic formation, if you are not careful, you may capsize in the gutter at the nascent soul stage, right? After looking around, the little skeleton exclaimed. Is it amazing? It's just made casually. Curling his lips, Chen said lazily. After hearing Chen's words, the little skeleton suddenly lost his temper. It thinks Chen is good at everything, but he just likes to brag. I taught him to understand artistic conception before. He said that he had understood 3 kinds of artistic conception. He was not interested. He said that he wanted to teach him how to make alchemy, but he said that his level of alchemy was just okay and he was not interested. Now, he said that he can make a 4th level formation disc. Why does this bastard pretend to be more pretentious than himself every day? Don't learn well every day. It seems that he is the prodigal son of some big shot in Dao Sect. Have you never been beaten severely by the cultivating community? Chen also saw the reaction of the little skeleton. However, he had no intention of explaining anything. Believe it or not, will it have any impact on you? Looking at Xiao Qi inadvertently, the corner of Chen's mouth twitched fiercely. There was also a dumbfounded expression on his face. I saw a lot of space rings spit out from Xiao Qi's mouth, if you read it correctly. Is this from the group of people from the city lord's mansion just now? Huang Yinua's group of men? Etc. It seems there is no Huang Yinua's space ring. Hiss. Chen. You are really awesome little kitty. It disappeared for just a few breaths, and yet it deceived those arrogant and domineering people. After wandering around Xiao Qi, the little skull was startled and said, outside the Piaomiao Inn, more than a dozen people, led by the middle-aged housekeeper of the city lord's mansion, had green faces. Just now, the space rings on their hands all disappeared inexplicably. What's going on? Miss, this must have been done by that brat just now. Gritting his teeth, the middle-aged housekeeper said with hatred. Do you have evidence? Looking at the middle-aged housekeeper calmly, Huang Yinhua frowned and asked. There was also a flash of displeasure in her eyes. It seems that those things are true. In her heart, she sighed secretly. Ever since she took on the responsibility of managing the city lord's palace 2 years ago, she has worked hard to act like an arrogant and domineering young lady. Unexpectedly, the guy in front of me still didn't show his fox tail. However, many clues have pointed to him. Do you want to collude with outsiders and seize the opportunity to take over the city lord's mansion? Snort. Chapter 26 Full of Evil. Damn it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Meow. Jumping on Chen's shoulder, Xiao Qi licked Chen's face flatteringly. There was a glimmer of pride in its purple eyes. Seeing this, the flames in the little skeleton's eyes stopped beating unconsciously. What a smart cat. The little skull secretly exclaimed, after looking at the dozen space rings in front of him. After thinking for a while, Chen directly erased the consciousness attached to them. As for whether the middle-aged housekeeper and others will suffer soul trauma, what does it have to do with him? Anyway, he doesn't have any good impressions of them. After opening 12 space rings in a row, Chen became more and more disappointed. Altogether, less than 1 million low-grade spiritual stones. There are only less than 50 bottles of first, second, and third grade elixirs. Are there some low-level materials, spiritual plants, etc.? Poverty. It's so poor. This is what Chen is thinking now. However, when he opened the last space ring, he was stunned. Mountains of low-grade spiritual stones. I'm afraid it's at least hundreds of millions, right? There are also thousands of mid-grade spiritual stones, hundreds of high-grade spiritual stones, and more than 10 top-grade spiritual stones. In addition, there are a large number of first, second, third, and fourth grade elixirs. Even, how many bottles of fifth grade elixir are there? There are many kinds of spiritual plants, materials, and some weapons. Chen reacted immediately. Is this the middle-aged butler's space ring? Unscientific. How could a mere butler have such a huge wealth? I'm afraid that a lot of things have been embezzled from the city lord's mansion, right? Touching his chin, Chen said playfully. I'm afraid it's not that simple. If he only took so many things from the city lord's mansion, there's no way he wouldn't have noticed at all. Opposite Chen, the little skeleton said thoughtfully, in the end, everyone and the skeleton looked at the hundreds of letters in the corner. There is also a thick animal skin notebook. After looking at these, both Chen and the little skeleton were shocked. This housekeeper of the evil spirit city lord's mansion named Lin Yang is really not an ordinary damned person. The couple lived in seclusion in the city lord's mansion of evil spirit city for a few years, and then he began to take over the city lord's mansion. In the past few years, several families in evil spirit city were directly destroyed due to his conspiracy. As for the city lord's palace, he also eliminated dissidents and killed many loyal people. In addition, he usually does things like bullying men and dominating women. However, they were all done by his subordinates. If Huang Yinhua finds out, just kill his men and clear up the relationship. In the past 2 years, he also colluded with a force hundreds of miles away, trying to annex Evil City. Become the city lord instead. In fact, he wanted to kill Huang Yinhua, the thorn in his flesh, more than once. But, he didn't dare, because Huang Yinhua is backed by a second-rate force. It is precisely because of this that after Huang Yinhua went down the mountain for training 2 years ago and returned to the city lord's palace, he was still unwilling to hand over some of his rights. However, he doesn't have Xiaoyang to obey Yin and disobey him. He also used the help of some of Huang Yinhua's suitors to remove some of his stumbling blocks. During this time, he seemed to have discovered that Huang Yinhua had been secretly investigating him. Her usual behavior is all just fake. Therefore, Lin Yang's performance is quite low-key now. At the same time, he contacted that force more and more frequently. He wants to take down the evil spirit city before the stolen goods are collected. Best, can we use that force to get rid of Huang Yinhua? As long as he becomes the lord of evil spirit city, he will be protected by the empire behind him. At that time, he didn't have to be afraid of the forces behind Huang Yinhua. What's more, the forces joining forces with him were originally created by the empire's senior officials. By then, when he saw the last page, Chen couldn't help but narrowed his eyes. Lin Yang plans to poison the city lord and his wife. When necessary, he would poison the entire evil spirit city to death. When the time comes, just find an excuse for the invasion of evil spirits and just survive being seriously injured. Damn! This uncle has opened his eyes. Can human psychology be so dark? Can the heart be so dark? After coming back to his senses, the little skeleton finally managed to choke out such a sentence. It seems that we have misunderstood that little girl. Then, it said another sentence. Chen, should we mind our own business? Let's talk about it first. I don't have any fighting ability at all. You have to do what you can. After giving Chen a wary look, the little skeleton continued. It's fine if I don't know. Now that I know, I really have control over this matter. Chen nodded lightly and said lightly. There was also a glimmer of cold murderous intent in his eyes. This was the first time since he time-traveled that he wanted to kill someone. In the world of cultivating immortals, killing people and grabbing treasures, etc., Chen thought it was normal. However, for his own selfish desires, he actually planned to bury countless people with him. This really made him a little bit unable to accept it. Lin Yang. Damn it. Let's just wait and see what happens. Just keep an eye on that Lin Yang. After thinking for a while, Chen said again, the key issue now is not as simple as Lin Yang. There is another force. Huang Yinhua in the city lord's mansion is quite miserable. Chen said secretly in his heart. I think so too. I must find out all the grievances. For the sake of profit, they actually harmed innocent people. I hate this kind of people the most. As he spoke, the little skeleton shut up again. Its attention was once again attracted by Xiao Qi's actions. This little guy was actually eating spirit stones and various materials quickly. Did I see it right? Is this still a cat? Is he really not picky about food? On the other side, Huang Yinhua and the others were planning to return to the city lord's mansion. As for the missing space ring, they could only investigate it slowly. What she didn't realize was that for a moment, Lin Yang's eyes were full of anxiety and panic. However, he quickly hid it again. Wow! Suddenly, Lin Yang and others were bleeding from all 7 orifices, and their faces were pale. Seeing this scene, Huang Yinhua couldn't help but be slightly startled. She understood that this was because the other party had wiped out the consciousness of the space ring, and Lin Yang and the others' souls suffered a backlash. Uncle Lin, are you all right? Looking at Lin Yang, Huang Yinhua asked with pretended concern. In fact, she was secretly delighted. Should I take this opportunity to investigate them? If there is enough evidence, I can report it to the Empire. Get rid of these bad apples. Humph. Then, go back to the sect. The sect has urged me to go back several times. All of a sudden, Huang Yinhua had countless thoughts in her mind. It's okay. After taking a deep breath, Lin Yang squeezed out an ugly smile on his gloomy face. Afterwards, the group walked towards the city lord's mansion in a mighty manner. Chapter 27 What a Weirdo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Almost at the same time, in the eastern region, deep in the Dao sect, a thin, middle-aged man stood in front of Xianxia with an embarrassed, bitter and fearful look on his face. Ancestor, Uncle Yi, I've lost you. I beg you, Ancestor, to punish me, otherwise I will feel uneasy. Looking at Xianxia, the lean middle-aged man whispered carefully. I see. Nodding slightly, Xuanjizi didn't have much reaction. As for punishment, let's just waive it. Then, Xuanjizi said lightly. Hearing Xianjizi's words, the lean middle-aged man almost wondered if he had heard wrongly. This? You know, Yi Chen's importance to Daozong is self-evident. As a protector, he was lost. This is a big or small matter. Tell me what's going on. Looking up at the lean middle-aged man, Xuanjizi's expression remained calm. That day, I followed Uncle Ye's coordinates and stepped into the pocket directional teleportation array. There were no problems at first. But halfway through, there was a sudden problem with the space channel, and I was thrown out. It seemed that the same was true for Master Yi. I searched for him for a while, but I couldn't find him, so I came back. Sighing, the lean middle-aged man said with a complicated expression. Hearing the middle-aged words, Xuanjizi couldn't help but frown. There was also a look of thought in his eyes. Is there a problem with the teleportation array? Was it bad luck and encountered a space storm? Or, who among the 8 people who built the teleportation array has a problem? Thinking of this, Xuanjizi couldn't help but narrowed his eyes. You go back first. After a long silence, Xuanjizi said expressionlessly. Yes. After bowing his hands, the lean middle-aged man turned around and left. This kid, Xiao Qi, really makes people worry. Xuanjizi sighed and had a wry smile on his face. Did something go wrong just after going down the mountain to practice? This really surprised him, but having said that, Xianjizi really didn't have much to worry about Yi Chen. With this kid's destiny and level of life, what's there to worry about? At most, it's nothing more than suffering a little more during cultivation. When he thought about it, he felt very happy in his heart. Without the guardian, this boy has no one to rely on. Presumably, his growth rate will be even more amazing, right? This way, his ridiculously powerful talent will not be wasted. 3 top 10 artistic conceptions. Are they still at the Dzogchen level? In addition, he is also an all-rounder in alchemy, weapon refining, and formation. I don't know, how far will this kid improve after returning from experience? Thinking of this question, Xuanjizi's cloudy eyes burst into light. He was also full of expectations in his heart. Compared to Xianjizi's indifference, Dao sect leader Jun Wuxia and other old monsters and senior officials were not so calm. I learned that Yi Chen's protector actually lost Yi Chen. Without exception, they all scolded the lean middle-aged man bloody. Of course, it's just a scolding and scolding. Xuanjizi has said that he will not be punished, so of course they can't do it for him. However, after learning the whole story, they reached a consensus not long after. Check the 8 old monsters who are setting up the formation. In addition, all high-level officials must be checked. With their intelligence, how could they not realize that there is a traitor among the top officials? This is not something they can endure. Especially, this matter concerns Yi Chen. In their eyes, Yi Chen was the hope of Daozong. He is more important than the 4 immortal seedlings combined. Much more important than anyone else in Daozong. This monster must not allow any mistakes. Compared to Daozong's hesitation, Yi Chen is much more leisurely now. After Xiao Qi was full, he collected the remaining loot. Holding a bottle of wine, I lay on the lawn in the yard and looked at the stars in the night. The little skeleton, on the other hand, circled around Yi Chen, always staring at the purple kitten Xiao Qi with a bulging belly in Yi Chen's arms. Yi Chen, your spiritual pet may have a very surprising origin. Even I can't figure out its origin. TSK. While spinning in circles, the little skeleton said in amazement. I'm talking about little skeleton, are you tired? How many times have you been wandering around here? How many times have you repeated what you said? Rolling his eyes, Yi Chen said angrily. All right, smiling awkwardly, the little skeleton stopped. Why don't you sign a master-servant contract with it? It would be bad if it grows up and runs away. Spiritual pets of this level are rare to find. After hesitating for a moment, the little skull said with some confusion. I already regard Xiao Qi as my family. Why do we need to sign a master-servant contract? Even if it really has to leave one day, I will only wish it well. After taking a sip of wine, Yi Chen said lightly, don't say that Xiao Qi saved his life. Even if he didn't, that's what he thought. If Yi Chen is sure about something, he will never change his mind or regret it. Hearing Yi Chen's words, the little skeleton fell silent. The flames in its eye sockets jumped uncontrollably for a few times. I don't know what it's thinking. To be honest, at this moment, the little skeleton's heart is not calm at all. Treat the spirit pet as a family member. Knowing that the other party's origin is amazing, he does not sign a master-servant contract to restrict the spirit pet. Even if the other party leaves, he doesn't care. Looking at the world of immortal cultivation, how many people can do this? And how many people can have such a broad mind? Meow, that I don't know if it understood Yi Chen's words, or what. Xiao Qi jumped onto Yi Chen's neck, rubbed his face affectionately, licked it, and then continued to curl up and snored and fell asleep. Seeing this, the little skeleton didn't know what to say. What a weird person. Well, this spirit pet is also weird. After thinking about it, the little skeleton also lay down beside Yi Chen, picked up a wine pot and drank wine. On the other side, after returning to the city lord's mansion, Huang Yinhuo returned to his room. After thinking for a while, she started to get busy. She felt that this was an opportunity. While Lin Yang's soul was damaged, she could investigate some things. As long as the evidence was solid, she would never let him go. Lin Yang, who returned to his room, had a terribly gloomy face at this time. He felt extremely painful in his heart, and was shocked and angry. That space ring contained his life's wealth. It was a small matter to lose wealth. However, there were all kinds of his letters and evidence in the space ring. Once it was spread out, neither Huang Yinhuan nor the Empire would let him go. Now, he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. Chapter 28 The Lackey of the Thief Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Late at night, Yi Chen slowly stood up, ready to rest. Suddenly, the psychedelic array that enveloped the hospital began to fluctuate. Seeing this, Yi Chen couldn't help but narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, someone has his own ideas. I don't know, who are they? Is he someone who is motivated by wealth? Or the subordinate sent by Lin Yang? Or, an idiot who was taken advantage of by Lin Yang? No matter which one it was, Yi Chen had no intention of letting the other person go, provoke him, or scold him, and he might laugh it off. However, if you want to kill someone for money, that's another matter. Yi Chen, now do you know why I want you to keep a low profile? Looking up at Yi Chen, the little skeleton gloated. As for Xiao Qi, she had already gone back to Yi Chen's inner world to sleep. Eating and sleeping are compulsory courses for it every day. Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to defeat them and will just leave you and run away? Looking at the little skeleton with a half-smile, Yi Chen's eyes revealed a playful light. Low profile? Why do you have to keep a low profile and wrong yourself? Yi Chen has no interest in self-abuse. I'm really not afraid. Evil Spirit City, I guess it doesn't even have the nascent soul stage, right? Even if the Taoist sect is in decline today, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. If you can go down the mountain to practice, no matter what, you must at least be in the golden core stage. I don't believe you have no means of self-protection, and your strength should not be weak. So, what do I have to worry about? That looking at Yi Chen, the little skull analyzed truthfully. Hearing the words of the little skull, Yi Chen showed a look of surprise on his face, sharp. Can this be analyzed? It is indeed a living fossil that has survived for countless years. What a waste. You can't even get out of an ordinary psychedelic array. Shaking his head, Yi Chen said a little disappointed. The reason why he said this was not without reason. The ones who broke into the psychedelic formation were 6 big men, without exception. They are all at the golden core stage. It's not difficult to find out by looking at their faces and their temperament. These are the masters who kill people and seize treasures all year round. Still a gang. However, now in the psychedelic array, I am wandering around like a headless fly, almost exhausted. What is it if it's not waste? Do you think everyone is a formation genius? This formation is enough to trap any golden elixir stage, okay? Only some monsters or formation geniuses can get out. After looking at Yi Chen, the little skeleton said in a dumbfounded voice. At the same time, it couldn't help but murmur secretly in its heart, could it be? This guy is really a formation genius. It shouldn't be. According to the nature of Taoism, they should only allow their disciples to practice one kind of Tao, right? Either martial arts, alchemy, or weapon or formation. After all, human energy is limited. Throughout the endless years of the world of immortality, how many geniuses have lost sight of one thing and another because of their greed, and finally disappeared from everyone? Although this kid hid his cultivation, he still vaguely felt the aura of energy and blood like a dragon. He should be a martial arts genius. Recalling that Yi Chen said that he had understood 3 artistic conceptions, Little Skull felt that this boy was pretending again. Maybe it's vanity that's causing trouble. Who doesn't know how to brag? This uncle is at the level of Grandmaster. It's just that Yi Chen doesn't know what Little Skull is thinking, otherwise he would be utterly devastated by it, right? What's there to pretend about this? What I stated is nothing but facts. Maybe. After taking a sip of wine, Yi Chen said lazily. Then he put away the wine bottle. The next moment, 6 big men fell out, each of them exhausted. Invariably, they all looked at Yi Chen. Their eyes were filled with frightened light, and their faces were pale. At this point, how could they not understand that they had hit a brick wall? Originally, they became greedy when they saw that Yi Chen was spending a lot of money and that Yi Chen was like a helpless scholar, want to kill people and seize treasures. But now, this kid in front of me is simply a master who pretends to be a pig and eats the tiger. Taking out any formation at random would almost exhaust them to death. Could this be just a scholar? Are you kidding me? At the same time, their hearts were filled with regret. Why are you so stupid? He was actually blinded by profit. Can someone who can easily take out thousands of low-grade spiritual stones be an ordinary person? Even if he is a scholar, will he not have any means to save his life? Tell me. How do you want to die? After looking at the 6 people, Yi Chen said lightly, as if talking about trivial things. Of the 6 golden elixir stages, the strongest one is just the early stage of the 8th level of the golden elixir stage. Frankly speaking, he really didn't take it seriously, not to mention, the 6 of them now have no fighting power at all. You can't kill us or you will regret it. Point one of them, a bald man, yelled with an angry look. That's right. Boss is right. If you kill us, you will definitely be killed. If you are sensible, just let us go immediately. Others also started to talk at once. Hearing their words, Yi Chen was amused. The little skeleton beside him also laughed heartlessly. I am dying of laughter. Until now, you still dare to threaten us. Do you think you are not dying fast enough? Instantly, everyone shut up. The words of the little skeleton made them realize the reality. At the moment, they were really at the mercy of others. The thief sect is behind us. Let us go now, and I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, After hesitating for a while, the bald man still chose to continue threatening Yi Chen, but this time, he cleverly brought out his backer. The thief sect is one of the top forces nearby, it is a second-rate force. In the entire world of cultivation, it is also a strong existence. He doesn't believe that Yi Chen is not afraid. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before beating the dog, right? Hearing the words of the bald man, Yi Chen and the little skeleton looked at each other unconsciously. The thieves' sect. Isn't that the force that Lin Yang is colluding with? Behind the thieves' sect, standing are the top leaders of the empire to which the evil spirit city belongs. Interesting. Things are getting more and more interesting. Seeing Yi Chen not speaking, the bald man and others thought he was scared. This time, they became even more excited. Let us go. Otherwise, you can wait for the revenge of the thieves' sect. Also, you must compensate for our losses, otherwise. In a blink of an eye, they started clamoring again. What a noise. In that case, I'll send you off, that with a sneer, Yi Chen said lightly. Chapter 29. Only a fierce dragon can cross the river. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After saying that, Yi Chen slapped a palm at random. In an instant, the 6 people turned into 6 corpses. After taking off the space rings in their hands, Yi Chen kicked the corpses away. How poor. After counting the loot, Yi Chen was a little helpless to complain. In total, there are only a few million, less than 10 million low-grade spiritual stones, there are so few pills and so on. If you are so poor, why do you still do the business of killing people and grabbing treasures? After shaking his head, Yi Chen went to rest. You can't tell. This guy is usually gentle and harmless, but he is actually a ruthless character. Looking at Yi Chen's back, the little skeleton said to himself. After that, it simply went to rest. When one person and one skeleton fell asleep, there was already a huge ruckus outside the Piaomiao Inn. Many people gathered around the 6 corpses and pointed. Hey! Aren't these the bald Han-san and the others? They were actually killed. It seems like they were trying to kill people and kick the iron plate. Was he thrown out of the yard of the boy with the skeleton? Hey! That young man looks so helpless. Who would have thought that he turned out to be a ruthless character? How normal. If you don't have any confidence, would you dare to randomly take out thousands of low-grade spiritual stones? Yes. It's just that strong dragons don't overwhelm local cowards. Han-san and the others are following a senior member of the thief sect. Is that young man going to be unlucky? In my opinion, he is not called a fierce dragon, but he can't cross the river. First he offended the city lord's mansion. Now he has killed Han-san and the others. TSK. It makes sense. The evil spirit city is going to be lively again. Who says it isn't? City lord's mansion, in the courtyard where Lin Yang is. After hearing the report from his subordinates, a look of surprise appeared on his face. That boy is so strong. Even Han-san and several other people were killed. You know, Hansen's strength is even stronger than him. Hansen's 5 subordinates are also quite powerful. Are you sure that the 3 or 6 Han people died at the hands of that kid? After pondering for a while, staring at the face of the young guard in front of him, Lin Yang frowned and asked. I'm not sure. It's just that more than one person saw them walking to that kid's yard half an hour ago. Shaking his head, the young guard answered honestly. I see. Go and do your business first. Lin Yang nodded and waved. Yes. After saying that, the young guard turned and left. Lin Yang, on the other hand, fell into deep thought. Originally, he planned to deal with Yi Chen personally later. He couldn't swallow that breath. In addition, he felt that the disappearance of his space ring should be related to Yi Chen. There are some familiar faces throughout the evil city. Only this kid and the skeleton are new here, so they are very suspicious. What's more, he had a conflict with them not long ago. Thinking of this, Lin Yang felt a bit overwhelmed. He was very conflicted in his heart. On the one hand, he wants revenge and gets his space ring back. On the other hand, he was worried that he would follow in the footsteps of Han-san and others, kill someone with a borrowed knife. It's not like he hasn't thought about it. The problem is that even Hu Hansan and others died in an unknown manner, who would be so reluctant to attack Yi Chen and the others. It seems that we can only contact the person from the thief sect. After pacing back and forth for a long time, Lin Yang finally made up his mind. City Lord's mansion, in Huang Yinua's boudoir. At this moment, she was also quietly listening to her maid's report. It was learned that Hu Hansan and others died, and it was suspected to be Yi Chen's handiwork. There was a look of surprise and uncertainty on her pretty face. It seems that he is a monster. Hu Hansan and the others have finally hit the wall. Smiling, Huang Yinua's pretty face showed an expression of gloating. If she hadn't been afraid of the god of thieves, if Hu Hansan and the others hadn't destroyed the bodies and left no traces of evidence every time they killed people to seize treasures, she would have gotten rid of Hu Hansan and the others long ago. This is also where she is most helpless. After taking charge of Evil Spirit City, she was restrained in everything she did, because she must take care of the interests of Evil Spirit City. Miss is right. Hearing Huang Yinua's words, her maid agreed. It seems that I have to get in touch with him tomorrow. After thinking for a while, Huang Yinua said again, far away at the other end of the eastern region of the immortal cultivation world, among the endless ancient ruins, a beautiful girl with a petite and exquisite appearance wearing a long white dress was in a daze in front of a bonfire. This beautiful girl is none other than Yang Chu, the leader of the 4 great immortal seedlings of Dao Sect. I don't know, where is Uncle Master now? Pouting her little mouth, Yang Chu muttered to herself. Yi Chen's figure appeared in her mind unconsciously. Yang Chu can be said to be full of curiosity about Yi Chen. Also, don't be convinced. A guy who hangs around all day, his cultivation speed is the highest among Taoist sections. He also understood the most powerful destructive artistic conception of Daozong Daoya. Even though you have worked so hard in cultivation, you are not as good as him. Was there any mistake? Whenever Yang Chu thought of this, she was very unconvinced. She wanted to fight Yi Chen very much. Realm doesn't mean everything. What if I defeated him? If Yi Chen knew that Yang Chu was obsessed with him, he would definitely feel amused, right? At noon, Yi Chen got up lazily, and the little skeleton had been waiting in the yard for a long time. Seeing Yi Chen coming out, the little skeleton didn't know what to say. Does this kid really not need to practice? All he does is eat, drink and have fun all day long. I really don't know how he got into Dao Sect. In his heart, the little skeleton couldn't help but secretly complain. Little skeleton, don't you need to rest every day? Get up so early. Looking at the little skeleton, Yi Chen asked casually. I'm a skeleton, I don't feel tired. Sleeping is just to kill time. Spreading his hands, the little skeleton answered seriously. Hearing the little skeleton's words, Yi Chen was speechless. What a top-notch. Spending time sleeping. How dare it complain that Xiao Qi only knew how to eat and sleep. He sighed in his heart. After talking nonsense for a while, he put the psychedelic array back into the array disc, and then the man and the skeleton walked out of the yard. In Yi Chen's words, it's necessary to save and spend. The array needs a lot of spirit stones to operate. After a while, the man and the skeleton came to the restaurant on the first floor of the inn. As soon as they appeared, they became the focus of the whole scene. The originally noisy restaurant became unusually quiet in an instant. Everyone looked at them. Chapter 30. The little skeleton has no moral integrity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When everyone looked at him, Yi Chen had an indifferent look on his face. Similarly, the little skeleton didn't react much. Why everyone reacted like this? Both Yi Chen and little skeleton knew very well. Maybe it was a conflict between himself and the city lord's mansion. And the deaths of Hu Hansan and others. One person and one skeleton sat down at the window seat where they were yesterday. Immediately, little skeleton called the waiter over and ordered a lot of wine and food. Just for the good wine, this guy would need 3 jars of it. As the food and wine arrived, Xiao Qi also flew out, lay down on the wine jar and started drinking. The little skeleton, on the other hand, raised a wine jar and drank wildly. But Yi Chen was the only one who drank slowly from bowls to bowls. Seeing this scene, the people around him were already very surprised, because they have already seen the weird behavior of this weird combination. As time passed, the diners around became noisy again. Many people looked at Yi Chen and the others intentionally or unintentionally, and seemed to be discussing something in a low voice. This young man is so powerful. He has offended the city lord's mansion and the thief sect, and yet he still dares to stay here. Hey! I guess newborn calves are not afraid of tigers, right? I think so. If someone dares to stay here, he must have the confidence. It all depends on who wins in the end. I think he is doomed. No matter how evil he is probably at the peak of the foundation building stage, right? The thief sect, wouldn't it be easy to just send someone out to kill them? Foundation building stage. Who are you looking down on? Hu Hansan and the others are both in the golden core stage, aren't they dead? I guess what trump card does he have? No matter what, it has nothing to do with us anyway, just watch the show. Hearing the comments around him, Chen couldn't help but secretly laugh. Are you all talking about yourself? It seems that many people think that they will be unlucky. Are there some people who look good on themselves? This is quite interesting. Little Skull, do you think it's better for us to take the initiative? Or is it better for the soldiers to cover up the water and the earth? After having enough wine and food, Chen glanced at the little skeleton and asked. This question depends on you. Looking at Chen, the little skeleton said carelessly. Anyway, if I can't beat him, just let Xiao Qi take me and run away. The flames in his eyes jumped a few times, and the little skeleton looked at the kitten on Chen's shoulder. After hearing the little skull's words, countless black lines instantly appeared on Chen's forehead. The little skeleton really has no moral integrity. Meow. Slowly opening his eyes, Xiao Qi glanced at the little skull with disdain, then, it changed to a comfortable position, closed its eyes and continued to sleep. Damn it! It actually despises me. Looking at Xiao Qi, little skeleton yelled in displeasure. However, when it touched Chen's half-smiling eyes, it shut up instantly. In an instant, the surroundings smelled like pin drops. Chen and little skeleton's conversation as if no one else was around just made them a little surprised. However, Xiao Qi's look made everyone suffocate. Is this still an ordinary kitten? Just know how to drink. And such human eyes. In addition, the amount of information about the little skeleton is not ordinary. Let a kitten lead him away. Could it be? Is this kitten not an ordinary kitten? Seeing the reactions of those around him, Chen instantly understood what was going on. After taking a sip of wine, Chen glared at the little skeleton angrily. It's all this big mouth's fault. What's wrong? Just when Chen was about to scold the little skeleton, a group of people walked into the inn. The leader was none other than Lin Yang, the steward of the Lord's mansion in Evil Spirit City, in other words, the general manager. Master, please come with us. 6 masters from the thief sect died outside your yard yesterday. Many people said they were thrown from your yard. We must investigate this matter carefully. Don't worry, the purpose of our city lord's mansion is to never wrongly accuse a good person and never let a bad person go. Please cooperate with our investigation. Otherwise, it will be difficult to explain this matter to the Empire and the thief sect. By then, I am afraid that the entire evil spirit city will also be affected. Staring at Chen's face, Lin Yang said with a righteous expression. After hearing Lin Yang's words, many people around him secretly sneered. That sounds nice. I guess he wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of this young man, right? But no one dared to say anything when they wanted to return home. The city lord's mansion is not that easy to mess with. Almost everyone looked at Chen curiously. How would he react? They are really curious. Okay. What was unexpected was that Chen agreed with a smile on his face. Please. Chen's reaction made Lin Yang slightly stunned. Soon, he reacted and made a gesture of invitation. Afterwards, the group of people left the Piaomiao Inn and headed towards the city lord's mansion. On the way, Xiao Qi returned directly to Chen's inner world. Seeing Xiao Qi disappear suddenly, Lin Yang's pupils couldn't help but shrink slightly. That little kitten, where did she go? Why didn't you find it yourself? The other guards also looked at Chen in surprise. Seeing the reactions of the crowd, the little skeleton laughed heartlessly. What a bunch of ignorant guys, I am dying of laughter. Although he said so, the little skeleton had to admit it in his heart. He was also full of curiosity about Xiao Qi. Where did this little guy come from? Spiritual beasts with spatial abilities are very rare. As the saying goes, time is supreme and space is king. More importantly, Xiao Qi seems to be able to eat anything. Spirit stones. Spiritual plants. Various materials. Weapons. Foods that humans eat and drink. And, it didn't take long for the group to arrive in front of a huge and magnificent building complex. This is the City Lord's mansion of the evil spirit city. At this time, two people were standing at the door of the City Lord's mansion. One of them was Huang Yinhua, the eldest lady of the City Lord's mansion, and the other was an ordinary-looking maid. Seeing Yi Chen and the little skeleton coming back with Lin Yang and others, Huang Yinhua was a little confused. What's going on? Although she didn't know Yi Chen very well, what happened yesterday was enough to explain many problems. This young man in front of her was not a coward. Lin Yang found an excuse to bring him here to cooperate with the investigation, and he really followed? If Huang Yinhua hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never believe it. Where did his momentum yesterday go? What surprised Huang Yinhua even more was that Yi Chen actually took the initiative to greet her. Huang Yinhua, we meet again. Looking at Huang Yinhua, Yi Chen smiled and waved his hand, as if, just like an old acquaintance.